Hola, ¿cómo estás? Today we're going to be jumping into the 5 biggest lies that mainstream fitness influencers will tell you that are keeping you from building muscle. Because the reality is that not a lot of people really know what they're talking about. And although it's kind of funny, at the same time it's actually very, very concerning. Because there are a lot of impressionable people out there who really do want to build muscle. They want to change their physique, maybe they even want to better their health, but they don't know what to do. And so they look to these bigger creators, these fitness influencers, to try and understand what that is that they need to do to get the results that they want. But the sad truth is, they know barely more than these people. So you just got to be careful. Anyway, little rant over. Without further ado, we shall jump in. So number 1 is that 8 to 12 reps is best for growth. Now, whilst there's actually nothing wrong with the rep range of 8 to 12 for muscle growth, the idea that it's the best is a bit misleading, because anywhere from as low as 4 to as high as 30 reps can stimulate muscle growth. As long as we're pushing close enough to failure, that intensity is the key indicator. And as long as other things like volume, frequency, recovery are all taken into consideration as well, then there's no reason why any of these rep ranges can't work. In short, there's nothing particularly special about 8 to 12 reps for muscle growth. It's just that a lot of bodybuilders in the 90s and early 2000s liked that rep range, and so it kind of stuck. Now that actually nicely transitions us into number 2, because number 2 is that rep range matters at all. As I mentioned earlier, roughly 4 to 30 reps seems to be the sweet spot for most people, so I guess it does matter to some extent, but the idea again that there's these specific rep ranges that target certain things. So for example, some of the more common misconceptions are things like the lower rep ranges are conducive for only strength, like 4 to 6 reps, and then rep ranges from 12 to 20 are specifically for toning. And we actually know that toning is just the process of building muscle and reducing your body fat percentage at the same time. And actually what we need to understand is that every rep range has its benefit and its drawbacks, but when the specific goal is muscle growth, I think actually the best approach is to incorporate a variation of rep ranges, from those at the lower end of the spectrum to those towards the middle or potentially even the end. The only thing I will say, the big caveat, is that the lower rep ranges can be considered better for muscle growth because your perception of your proximity to failure, how many reps you have left in the tank, is always going to be more accurate in those lower rep ranges. As you start to increase the number of reps that you're performing, your perception of that proximity to failure becomes way less accurate. It's going to be very, very hard to accurately pinpoint what your 20 rep max is compared to, say, your 4 rep max. But just to use an example for why the high rep ranges could be a really good way to build muscle. Maybe for somebody who has a twingy elbow. Maybe they've just recovered from a recent injury, and actually they find that using weights that are heavier than, say, their 15 rep max tend to cause them some sort of significant discomfort. Then they're going to benefit from going, say, 15 to 20 reps because they can still build that muscle despite using lighter weight. So pretty much all rep ranges are fair play. So get creative. Number 3 is that main gaining is the answer. So for those who don't know, main gaining is the idea that you're building muscle at maintenance calories. So you are neither losing weight or gaining weight. Now for anyone who is fairly new to the gym, main gaining is absolutely fine. It's actually recommended. If you're new to the gym, you can be even in a deficit. You can be losing weight and building muscle at the same time because it's such a new stimulus to your body that you are going to build muscle no matter what. And actually it's the perfect time for most people to come in and do a body recomposition phase where they look to change the composition of their body by decreasing the body fat percentage, by being in that calorie deficit. They're losing weight, but they are strength training. It's a new stimulus to their body. They can progressively overload and they can build muscle at the same time. Now, for anyone who's lifted for a number of years, you will realize that that does wear off. And eventually it becomes harder and harder to build muscle. And it's for these people that when you start to break into that intermediate realm, that main gaining just isn't the most productive answer when we're talking about muscle growth anyway. And the analogy I like to give is this. If I take you as you are now and I pop on 5 kilograms of muscle, how much are you going to weigh? You're going to weigh whatever you weigh now plus 5 kilograms. Therefore, we have to be gaining weight and putting ourselves into that net calorie surplus so that we can supply our body with the excess energy that it needs to build this new muscle tissue. Is it possible for intermediates to build muscle whilst at maintenance calories? Yeah, they can. But is it 10 times slower and 10 times less effective? Yeah, it also is. So you're better off going with the traditional cut bulk approach, but just do it sensibly. You don't need to be in a huge surplus of calories and gaining tons of weight all at once. Lean bulks are absolutely the best way to go about it. Main gaining has become maintaining, but main gaining can just be a small bulk, can just be a lean bulk. Just put yourself into a small surplus of calories, like 10%, and then base it off of how much weight you're gaining. I usually recommend to most people to try and aim for, say, 0.5 to a kilogram of weight each month, depending on how much you weigh currently. And I promise you that that will be all it takes to start seeing faster gains. Number 4, and this one's probably going to shake a couple of you, is that form is the priority. And now, look, form is everything to a certain extent. And I think the problem is that people have taken this out of context, and now form has to be perfect the whole way through the set. Now, we've already established earlier in the video that the main driver of muscle growth is going to be that level of intensity, okay? The proximity to failure. How close to failure are you? Now, if you think back to the last really hard set you did the last rep look like the first rep? No, probably not. And actually, I think this idea that we have to have this perfect form the whole way through is a little bit silly, because for most people, when you get towards the end of a set, you are tired, you are fatigued, you cannot get the weight up, and therefore you are going to experience some level of form breakdown. And especially if you've been lifting for a while, then trying to push through that is going to be really, really important. So good form is important, and it definitely comes before adding tons of weight and ego lifting, but don't feel like every rep has to be absolutely pristine, especially towards the end of the set. If it is, chances are you probably need to push a little bit harder. And number 5, everybody's going to hate me for this one, is that push-pull legs is the best split. Is it the worst split? Absolutely not. Is it not the best split for most people? Yeah, I would argue so. Most people don't have 6 days to train a week. And to use the push-pull leg split optimally, then you kind of need 6 days a week, because it allows you to hit every major muscle group at least twice within that week period. And for most people, that is just unrealistic. So my modified approach to this is to actually break it down to a 3-day split, and you turn these into kind of full bodies. So you have a full body push, which is basically just an anterior day. So you're targeting chest, shoulders, biceps, abs, and quads. And then you have a full body pull day, or a posterior day, where you're targeting the muscles of the back, triceps, glutes, hamstrings, and calves. Then you have a couple of rest days, and then you hit a full body day. So this again allows you to hit all of those muscle groups at least twice within the week. If you have 4 days, then you can just repeat that, and you can do anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior. Or if you want to really change it up, you can do anterior, posterior, a couple of days rest, upper, lower. And again, you've hit everything twice within the week, so that you can accumulate slightly more training volume. Like I said, it's not to say that push-pull legs is the worst split ever. It definitely has its reasons for, but I would definitely say it's far from the best workout split. So guys, that is it. That is the 5 biggest lies that most fitness influencers will shout about that are potentially stopping you from building muscle. And if there's any more that you can think of that I've missed out, then please comment them below as well, and I'll have a little read through of some of them and maybe heart my favorites or something like that. Is that what people do? Anyway, as usual, I hope that you enjoyed, and hopefully this has helped you out and you can kind of navigate social media fitness a little bit better now. And if that is the case and this did help you out, then I would very much appreciate if you could give this video a like if you want to subscribe to the channel. I won't force you to, but it helps out. I guess I will catch you in the next one. Adios.